You know, there's been a lot of discourse about how my favorite baseball team spends their hard-earned money in the last few months, and I gotta say that it makes a lot of sense. The New York Mets broke all sorts of sports records when they gave Juan Soto a 15-year, $765 million contract this offseason. Perks include personal security guards, a suite at Citi Field just for his family, and his own personalized tractor. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. That last one was for Roy Oswalt. Many fans have chimed in to say that this is already the worst contract in baseball history, citing Soto's poor defensive metrics and the lack of MVP awards on his mantle. I think you and I both know that that's not true, but even if this Juan Soto contract is a total disaster, I'd have a hard time believing that he wouldn't even suit up for, I don't know, a week's worth of games and maybe get a hit or a couple walks, and that would take this above the worst contract in Mets history, in my opinion. You might think that's a low bar to hit, and that's because it is. I say this because in 2019, after signing a 2-year, $20 million contract, Jed Lowrie was unable to hit that bar. His tenure with the Mets was brief and confusing, and guess what? Most of this stuff wasn't even his fault. Today we're going to break down how Jed Lowrie found his way to New York, the contract that he signed, and why it all blew up in everyone's faces. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to make it a goal of mine this year to hit 150,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I got a long way to go, and I could really use your help, so I appreciate it. Now let's get into today's video. For a decade-long stretch, Jed Lowrie was a fixture on prominent American League teams, but never the face of any franchise he was a part of. He helped the Boston Red Sox reach the playoffs as a part-time shortstop alongside Marco Scutaro in each of his first 2 seasons. In 2013, he helped the Oakland A's win a second straight AL West Division title in his first full season as an everyday shortstop. He was a part of the 2015 Houston Astros, a team that went from laughingstock of the league to a surprise postseason story. Despite never making huge waves as a position player, Lowrie appeared in the playoffs in over half of his seasons played in MLB from 2008 to 2018. It was in Lowrie's second stint with the Oakland A's that he really began to garner attention as one of the more talented second basemen in baseball. After dealing with an injury-riddled 2016 season where he underwent extensive surgery on his left foot, as well as surgery for a deviated septum that was plaguing his sleep routine, Lowrie showed up healthy and refreshed for the next season. In 2017, his 49 doubles was only outdone by Cleveland's Jose Ramirez in all of baseball. He set career bests in wins above replacement, on-base percentage, slugging, and OPS, manning the middle infield with a promising shortstop in Marcus Semien. He followed that up with an even better 2018 season, accomplishing his first 4-WAR season and first 20-home run season at age 34. He made his first All-Star team and even received MVP votes, making for a very underrated story heading into free agency for the first time in his career. Lowrie had fully embraced StatCast data and was working on ways to refine his game even in his mid-30s. In various interviews during this successful 2-season run, he remarks that he was constantly trying to, quote, maximize bat speed to maximize exit velocity, and that he checks StatCast regularly. As you can see from these numbers, Lowrie improved both his average exit velocity and launch angle drastically in this window, explaining his sharp increase in offensive production once he got healthy. Lowrie's actually one of the few guys that I don't think you can chalk up his success in the late 2010s to just juiced ball narratives. I think that he took an actual approach to refining and improving his swing, and you can see the results. Lowrie's 7.4 wins above replacement from 2017 to 2018 placed him among the top 50 players in MLB. If that doesn't really impress you, his mark ranked higher than that of Xander Bogaerts and Bryce Harper, both of whom were healthy in both of these seasons. More importantly, outside of Jose Altuve, there was arguably no better second baseman in baseball than Jed Lowrie in this tight 2-season window. Of those who played full seasons in both years, Lowrie played the most games, hit the most doubles, drew the second most walks, accrued the second most runs batted in, and had the third best OPS among qualified second basemen. He accomplished all of this with the bat while ranking in the 90th percentile or better for outs above average in both of these seasons. In this 2-season span, he had the second most OAA among second basemen, trailing only DJ LeMahieu. I'm going to great lengths to explain this span of Lowrie's career because I want it known that he was fully deserving of the 2-year, $20 million contract that he got. He got paid like one of the best second basemen in baseball because at this point in time, that's what he was. The unfortunate fact of it all is that his landing spot didn't make a lot of sense, and when the contract actually got going, the partnership only looked worse and worse. Despite entering free agency as the top player at his respective position, Lowrie's market was overshadowed by a robust class of available players, most notably Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. The outfield was plenty deep as well, with Andrew McCutchen, Michael Brantley, and AJ Pollock all signing lucrative multi-year deals. By the time January had rolled around, many marquee players had fallen off the board in the 2 months of free agency, but all the while, not much had circulated on the market of Jed Lowrie. There was murmurs of interest from the Milwaukee Brewers, who never spent much, and I don't think anybody really thought that the Oakland A's would be bringing him back, so the list of potential suitors seemed to be pretty thin. 10 days into the new year, we finally got the answer we were all waiting for. Jed Lowrie was going to be the new second baseman of the New York Mets. At least that was the assumption, and then when you thought about it for more than 10 minutes, the assumption didn't make a whole lot of sense. From the outset, Lowrie was not a fit on the New York Mets. The club had just made a blockbuster trade with the Mariners, acquiring all-star closer Edwin Diaz and taking on a large portion of second baseman Robinson Cano's mega contract. With Cano looking like a fixture at Lowrie's primary position, his secondary position was also taken up. Ahmed Rosario, less than 2 years removed from being a top 5 prospect in all of baseball, was entering an important third season as everyday shortstop in Queens. That left third base, which was also occupied by Todd Frazier, who was in the second year of a 2-year, $17 million contract signed the offseason prior. Also, Todd Frazier on the Mets being mentioned gives me a golden opportunity that I've been waiting for years, and that's to show my favorite juiced ball home run, which is this one. It's Todd Frazier swinging at a curveball sinker pitch from Mark Melanson below his knees, flicking his bat, and then just dumping this one into the left center field stands. Like, how did this happen? All three of these guys were coming off down years respective to their career averages, but there was still a decent expectation that they would be the starters on the Mets. That doesn't even factor in Jeff McNeil, who was coming off a white-hot 63-game stint the year before, where he managed to finish with Rookie of the Year votes despite coming up in late July. McNeil hit to a .329 batting average and was a bright spot on an otherwise dismal 2018 Mets team. Sure, there's logic to just bringing in talented players and letting the baseball figure itself out, but that's not even mentioning that there's 3 other infielders that I haven't talked about yet. The Mets also acquired JD Davis via trade. He's a third baseman left fielder and he needed at-bats. They were also planning on promoting Pete Alonso at some point in the year, who was the first baseman of the future, not even mentioning Dom Smith, who already got a cup of coffee and was their first baseman left fielder. So between Robinson Cano, Ahmed Rosario, Todd Frazier, Jed Lowrie, Jeff McNeil, JD Davis, Dom Smith, and Pete Alonso, there was a projected 8 different Mets infielders slated to make the team in 2019. Where did Jed Lowrie fit in all of this? Well, the Mets seem to know. According to Newsday, the Mets had full intentions to play Jed Lowrie on an everyday basis. It's just that his position had yet to be determined. That's because they had no idea where they were going to play him. Lowrie also seemed like a fit personnel-wise, reuniting with his former hitting coach Chili Davis and star outfield teammate Yoenis Cespedes, both of whom spent time with him on the Oakland A's. Maybe this signing made a ton of sense actually, and we were all just not seeing it. After all, the GM at the time, Brodie Van Wagenen, was Jed Lowrie's former agent. Were the Mets going to try and salary dump Todd Frazier via trade? Maybe they were going to sell high on Dom Smith's stock? Or maybe they were just going to immediately cut bait on Robinson Cano. But none of that happened. So why did the Mets give Jed Lowrie $20 million knowing that they had a logjam that they weren't going to fix? It's a question we're still trying to answer. Just a calendar month after the initial signing of Jed Lowrie, news broke of lingering injuries. He had missed full squad workouts at the beginning of spring training due to left knee soreness. After an MRI, he was placed on the injured list in late March with a left knee capsule sprain. He would spend the next 2 months rehabbing, and in mid-May, just days away from potentially returning and making his Mets debut, he suffered a grade 1 strain of his left hamstring. This more severe injury shelved Lowrie for months, and then as soon as he got better again, how about another injury, this time a right calf strain, which would move Lowrie to the 60-day injured list, pushing his Mets debut down the line even further. With Jed Lowrie essentially disappearing from Mets baseball since spring training, Brodie Van Wagenen felt it necessary to deliver a crucial and clear update on Lowrie's injury timetable. Let's take a look. We want to make sure that that kinetic chain is working together. Brodie Van Wagenen, MD, stands for mass dysfunctionality. But don't piss. Lowrie finally resurfaced in early September, coming primarily off the bench. Fuck it. Jed Lowrie Mets highlights. Yeah, he got 8 plate appearances total, recorded no hits, struck out 4 times, and he drew 1 walk. So that OBP, baby, that stock is rising. You see, in Jed Lowrie's absence, Jeff McNeil fully took over the second baseman gig with a breakout 2019 season. There was absolutely no way for Jed Lowrie to get his feet under him and get in the swing of things because there was no playing time to go around. The Mets already had Robinson Cano on a semi-bench role. They had traded for Joe Panik midseason. JD Davis was playing left field, and sure, man, fuck it, Rajay Davis is here too because he's like the Jeff Teague of MLB. Every important MLB story, he's just there. So year 1 was was a disaster for Jed Lowrie in the blue and orange, but in the offseason, he was set to get surgery to heal up his knee injury. A non-team doctor diagnosed him with a knee fat pad impingement, which is essentially swollen and inflamed tendons which cause consistent pain. With Lowrie healed up and ready to go for 2020, there was nothing standing in the way of the veteran infielder bouncing back. What's that? There's something in the way? And that something in the way is his employer? The same team that's paying him $20 million to play baseball? They don't want him to be fully healthy. And if he does get the surgery, they're going to file a grievance against him and try not to pay him? All right, cool. Got it. Love you. Talk to you later. What? Yeah, things during this time were reportedly unpleasant between the organization and Jed Lowrie. I wonder why. At the beginning of Mets summer camp prior to the COVID-shortened season, new Mets manager Luis Rojas said that Jed Lowrie would be, quote, full go to ramp up for the 2020 season. Just mere weeks later, Jed Lowrie made it to camp wearing a sizable leg brace on his left leg. And so he'd begin the shortened season once again on the injured list, except this time there was seemingly no hope for Jed Lowrie's potential return. Without the essential surgery, Lowrie wasn't recovering normally and never got the chance to resume baseball activities. The Mets essentially paid the $10 million salary that they owed Jed Lowrie in 2020 to not play baseball. 2 thumbs up. Once the 2020 season wrapped up, Jed Lowrie freed himself from the blue and orange shackles around his legs and immediately got the knee surgery. His rehab process began. He caught on with his old friend, the Oakland A's, on a minor league deal and ended up making their ball club early in the 2021 season. And you could tell that Lowrie missed playing baseball very early on. In his first 19 games with the Oakland A's, Lowrie hit near 300 with an 874 OPS and 3 home runs in a 79 plate appearance span. One of the best starts to the season of any 2021 hitter. His 2021 season was nothing to write home about, but he did play 139 games, was league average offensively, and provided valuable defense for the Oakland A's. At age 37, Lowrie hadn't lost his love for the game at all, telling The Athletic that he, quote, missed playing so much and that it was very difficult to not play in the pandemic season. So at the very least, he got to come back and show everyone that this whole situation was not his fault. A year later, Jed Lowrie would retire at age 38 after the 2022 season. So overall, Jed Lowrie had a fantastic career as a big leaguer, and this Mets contract is just a blemish on what was otherwise a pretty impressive resume. It's nice to see that Jed Lowrie got at least one more full season as an everyday big leaguer and got to prove the Mets wrong by just saying, if you let me get the surgery, I probably would have been very productive for you. But this to me is just kind of symbolic of the last Mets regime before the Cohen era took over. Just pure dysfunction, the wrong people in charge, the wrong money going to the wrong place. All of it is very symbolic to me as a Mets fan. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you've watched all the way through, leave a like on the video and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Like I said at the top, trying to hit 150K by the end of the year. Could really use your help if you're not subbed already. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time.